Hello, everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I am happy you can join me today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Click the subscribe button below for future notifications and updates. Click the like button to share this content with other movie fans. The Apprentice is a biographical drama directed by Iranian filmmaker Ali Abbasi, and it stars Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump and Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival back in May, and it was released in theaters last Friday, October 11th. The running time is 2 hours. And I wanted to see this film because I read reports that Trump's lawyers tried to file a lawsuit to stop the film from being made and released in theaters. I admit I am not a Trump supporter, so I wanted to know what in this movie they don't want the public to see. Now, the opening credits mention that the film is based on actual events, with certain scenes being fictionalized. The film centers around Donald Trump being Roy Cohn's apprentice, and this is something I did not know prior to reading about the movie. The movie starts in the 1970s. His father, Fred Trump, was a real estate developer in Brooklyn and Queens, and there was a lawsuit filed against Fred Trump, who was accused of discriminating against Black American tenants. That is true. I read about that case years ago. So, Donald Trump gets himself into an exclusive gentleman's club in Manhattan, and it is there he meets Roy Cohn, who is a famous, powerful attorney. Roy is friends with President Nixon, and he is well connected and very wealthy. So Donald begs him to take his father's case, and this is the beginning of a relationship that changes Donald's life. He starts off as Fred's son by reputation, and there is a scene where Donald is traveling from apartment to apartment collecting rent from poor people who are behind. So he wants to develop abandoned and run-down properties in Manhattan, which is a borough Fred never invested in. And he wants to target wealthy tenants. So he feels Roy Cohn is going to give him and is going to help him out. And the biggest way Roy helps him out is representing him in front of a panel of local politicians to secure a $160 million tax break to develop a rundown hotel on 42nd Street near Grand Central. No one, including his father, thought the proposal would get approved. But Roy Cohn is good at his job, and he is good at blackmail. What makes Donald Roy's apprentice is Roy teaches him the 3 rules. Number 1, attack, attack, attack. Number 2, never admit wrongdoing, always deny. And number 3, always claim victory, never claim defeat. Sounds familiar? Yeah. And the movie clearly shows how the 3 rules apply to Donald's rise in power and influence in New York City and later on in Atlantic City. The movie does a good job at humanizing Trump, and it does show that with the right circumstances and meeting the right person at the right time, you too can unethically rise to the top of the business world and become very rich. So, I am going to give this film 3.5 out of 5 stars. Ali Abbasi does a good job, not a great job, but he does a good job with directing this film. It definitely transports you back in time in the 1970s, 80s New York City, before the real estate value skyrocketed, thereby pushing poor people out of the city. This was also a time when crime and prostitution was rampant, and I must admit, Trump's real estate deals slowly turned Manhattan into a rich man's playground. What I don't like is the so-called poor welfare tenants are depicted as nuisances in certain scenes, while at the same time it's clear that Fred Trump became wealthy from these tenants. Even though the movie does humanizes Donald, it doesn't change my mind about him. He was an ambitious, arrogant man before he met Roy, and his arrogance got worse the richer he got. Sebastian Stan does a great job playing Trump without making him out to be a cartoon you can laugh at, like what we used to see on Saturday Night Live during Trump's presidency. But the actor that stands out for me is Jeremy Strong, who plays Roy Cohn. Roy is a crooked lawyer who in real life committed crimes of his own, but he is such a fascinating character and a walking contradiction. In the film, he was both gay and homophobic. I didn't believe it until I left the theater and Googled Roy Cohn. He was gay, and he denied that, so I got to give Roy credit. He followed his own rules. And then there is Jeremy Strong. His performance is so charismatic and totally uninhibited. Every time he is not in a scene, I dozed off. So to me, the Academy needs to give Jeremy Strong an Oscar nomination for this performance. I will say one more thing. The characters I felt most sorry for was Ivana Trump, Donald Trump's first wife, and Donald's oldest brother, Fred Jr. I don't know how much of what we saw in the film about Ivana and Donald's marriage is true, but Donald came off as predatory when he first met Ivana. And then there is Fred Jr. He was emotionally abused by their father. And then over the course of the movie, Donald was not as kind and sympathetic to him as he should have been. But then I don't know how much of that relationship was fictionalized in the movie as well. But overall, it doesn't change my mind about Donald, neither negatively or positively. So that is all for today. I recommend that you too go out and see The Apprentice if you haven't done so this past weekend. I will see you next time with another movie review. Until then, have fun at the movies.